वल्लभा गिरिभरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यमुनातीरं वनचारी यमुनातीरं वनचारी जय जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य स्तोत्र श्रीमद ऐसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य स्तोत्र श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर श्रील प्रभुपाद की आनंद कोटि वैष्णवृंद की नामचर शिला हरिदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री द्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद की श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोविंद श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की वृंदावन धाम की मथुरा धाम की गंगा माई की यमुना माई की तुलसी देवी की भक्ति देवी की समवेत भक्तवृंद की all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga all glories to Srila Prabhupada Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swami Nityananda Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. Reading from Canto 3, chapter number 5, text number 24. Give it up. 24. 3, 5, 24, yeah. Sa va eshaha drishta na apashyat drishyam ekarat mene asantam eva atmanam supta shakti asupta drik savaesha tada drishta napashyad drishyam ekarat mene santam ivatmanam supta shaktir asupta drik savaesha tada drishta napashyad drishyam ekarat mene santam ivatmanam supta shaktir asupta drik savaesha tada drishta napashyad drishyam ekarat mene santam ivatmanam supta shaktir asupta drik Tada drishta Svaesha tada drishta shantam ivatmanam Mataji's Okay, Saha, the personality of Godhead, Va, either. Eshaha, all these. Tada, at that time. Drashta, the seer. Na, did not. Apashyat, see. Drishyam, the cosmic creation. Ekarat, undisputed proprietor. Mene, thought like this. Asantam, non-existent. Eva, like that. Atmanam, plenary manifestation. Supta, unmanifested. Shaktihi, material energy. Asupta, manifested. Drik, internal potency. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Sorry, turn this off. Okay. Translation. The Lord, the undisputed proprietor of everything, was the only seer. The cosmic manifestation was not present at that time, and thus He felt imperfect without His plenary and separated parts and parcels. The material energy was dormant, whereas the internal potency was manifested. Purport. The Lord is the supreme seer because only by His glance did the material energy become active for cosmic manifestation. At the time, the seer was there, but the external energy over which the glance of Lord is cast was not present. He felt somewhat insufficient, like a husband feeling lonely in the absence of his wife. This is a poetic simile. The Lord wanted to create the cosmic manifestation to give another chance to the conditioned souls who are dormant in forgetfulness. The cosmic manifestations gives the conditioned soul a chance to go back home, back to Godhead, and that is its main purpose. The Lord is so kind that in the absence of such a manifestation, He feels something wanting, and thus the creation takes place. Although the creation of the internal potency was manifested, the other potency appeared to be sleeping, and the Lord wanted to awaken her to activity, just as a husband wants to awaken his wife from the sleeping state for material enjoyment. It is the compassion of the Lord for the sleeping energy that He wants to see her awake for enjoyment, like the other wives who are awake. The whole process is to enliven the sleeping conditioned souls to the real life of spiritual consciousness, so that they may thus become as perfect as the ever-liberated souls in the Vaikuntha Lokas. Since the Lord is Satchit Ananda Vigraha, He likes every part and parcels of His different potencies to take part in the blissful rasa, because participation with the Lord in His eternal rasa, lila, is the highest living condition, perfect in spiritual bliss and eternal knowledge. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitamena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitamena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Sheta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavang Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sijivam Sadvaitam Savaditam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vijakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinavanda Jagadvate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavane Sare Brishavanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpadharivasya Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patita Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namah Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedant Bhakti Vikasa Swami Tinavane Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinavane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharne Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarne Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, going on with Vitura's talks with Maitreya, and Vishnu Chitta Prabhu explained some of these things yesterday in terms of giving some understanding of the Mayavad philosophy, and specifically mentions here that it's starting to explain the 4 original verses in the previous purport. Mentions that that Chatur Shloki is starting to become explained, in which the Mayavadis take great they take that and they twist it and bring about an impersonal understanding. But here, Srila Prabhupada, can you get some water in here? Okay. Srila Prabhupada is mentioning that here's the topic in its proper explanation being given here. And so here we're seeing the aspect of the Lord here in which He is impregnating the material energy, and the glance over the Mahatattva in order to create the in order to create, you could say, but in order to put into action the creation so that the living entities can function. And this specifically, Srila Prabhupada mentions in a purport in the Adi Leela, that it's the specific duty of the Karnadakshayi Vishnu, who's on the casual ocean, and he creates these universes merely by glancing over them upon material nature. So specifically he mentions it is the function of Mahasankarshan in the form of Karnadakshayi Vishnu to glance over the material energy, material creation, which is situated beyond the limits of the casual ocean. Material nature is concocted with the personality of Godhead by his glance over her and nothing more. It is said that she is impregnated by the energy of his glance. The material energy, Maya, never even touches the causal ocean, for the Lord glances focus upon her from a great distance away. And then a similar type of analogy is given again by Srila Prabhupada in terms of a husband and a wife, and how the Lord is able to impregnate just by his glance, Angani yasya sakalendriya vrittimanti, so that he's not bound to just procreation through genitals, but he has the ability to do that with any sense. So here the explanation is being given, quite amazing actually, that he felt imperfect without his plenary and separated parts. And Srila Prabhupada makes the point here that the living entities, there's the liberated and there's the Nitya Siddhas and the Nitya Baddhas. He makes that point in the purport. And that Krishna, he wants all of these living entities to eventually come back to the spiritual world. Or he wants to give them a chance. He manifests this material energy, glances over this material energy in order to enjoy with them, in order to eventually actually be able to experience that rasa with even the conditioned souls. Which is interesting because we understand from reading Srila Prabhupada's books that the living entity, us, in this conditional state of being, we have neglected Krishna, or we have turned away from Krishna. That verse is there. Krishna bhuli se jiva anadi bahirmukh. That we've turned away from Krishna. And ateva maya tare deva sangsara dukh. By forgetting Krishna, the living entity has become materialistic since time immemorial. Thus, the illusory of Krishna is giving him different types of miseries in material existence. So it's interesting that he felt imperfect. Although he is perfect, he's feeling imperfect. And how can God feel imperfect? Well, he's God. He can feel how he likes. How can you dictate how he feels? Then you're putting him in a box also. He must always feel perfect. No, he can have the feeling of feeling imperfect. Why? Because it's rasa. And a few years ago, maybe Maharaj was making the point that actually it's not all energy. Above energy is rasa, is this relationship, is this loving relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Krishna, he wants to experience that rasa, and every single rasa. He's the enjoyer of all rasas. He's the fountainhead of all rasas, but he wants to enjoy all rasas. And so he's feeling some lacking. Although he's complete, he's feeling some lacking. How does that make sense? Well, it's achintya, inconceivable. But how can you understand it? You can understand it when there is rasa involved. Because Krishna is not forcing a living entity to have that rasa with him. Krishna wants that by choice. He is giving the living entity independent choice to make that. Therefore, you are allowed to turn away from Krishna. The example, we're here. It's the reason we're here. But Srila Prabhupada says there's never, my spiritual master recently gave a lecture on this, the fall of the jiva, controversial topic. He mentions. It's not that controversial, he says, that if you understand and accept what Srila Prabhupada says, it's not that controversial. And if you look at Shastra, it's pretty straightforward actually. Not too much mental masturbation means that you can accept what Prabhupada says. If you have too much mental masturbation, then you want to be some scholar, then you bring about the same thing, anadi bahirmukh, turn away from it, saying, not a complete, proper understanding according to the line that we come in. So he was mentioning in that, Srila Prabhupada mentions that actually we're never separate from Krishna. And how is that so? How is that so? Obviously it seems like in our life that we're pretty far from what Krishna consciousness is, right? find it pretty hard to be Krishna conscious as soon as we get some time in. It's the other, bodily conception of life attached to the false ego. So it is a fact that the living entity is actually never separate from Krishna, Srila Prabhupada says. Because it's the state of hallucination or a state of dream that we are in, identifying with these different material bodies. And Srila Prabhupada mentions that just like in a dream, one may identify as a king, or one may identify as a whatever, some big person in the universe, whatever it may be, he knows if he is in knowledge, once he wakes up, all this is just temporary. It's just illusion. It's temporary. It's only a small amount of time that you're in sleep for, but actually, your real life is Krishna life, to be always with Krishna, right? To always be in Krishna's association. That is one's real position. So, Jivara Swarupo He Krishna Nityadas, that his real position is that he's always an eternal servant of Krishna. He's never separate from that. Nityadas. That's his Swarupa, his real form, real position is that. So, how can Nitya Das, but then right now we're seemingly not Nitya Das. We're trying to enjoy. We're trying to boga. We're trying to enjoy it. So how is that so? That is simply illusion. That one simply takes upon a different dress and considers this body to be who he is. He considers this material body himself. And that is the illusion. So the living entity is provided by the Lord, the creation. The Lord is so, how can somebody be like that? Somebody comes to your house, somebody, it's maybe your child that you brought into this world, despises you, hates you, doesn't like you, goes away, doesn't want to give you significance, to the extent that, atheists, they don't even want to give his existence any significance. Or the others, Mayavadis, to the extent where they want to take God's position. Deny God's position, take God's position, exploit God's position. Those are generally the three categories you more or less can put it into. Those who are religious, what are they after from God? Daily bread, money, car, house, good life. All of these things. What is that, a business transaction? You just come to someone, it's just like somebody, you hate friendships that people just come and they just want to take something from you. You may have relationships, even whatever, boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, all they want is just to take from you. There was this nice, somebody was showing us, one brahmachari back in 2019 was showing me this. There's this TV show, I forget what it's called, and the introduction of the TV show is the husband is there and he just came back home from a full day of work and he sits down and his kid comes, takes $20, his daughter comes, takes another $20, $30, and then his wife comes and takes the whole credit card, and he's just miserable, just sitting there. It's a business transaction, not very pleasurable. And then you got the Mayavadis who are just envious of God's position, and then you got the atheists who completely just neglect God, completely say he does not exist. Quite painful for a person who wants to have a loving relationship with you, if you probably had that in your life where you might want to actually show some love to someone, help them in some way, give them some facility, give them some money, whatever it may have been. But their position is, I just want to take from you and then not give you significance, or more or less, go and criticize you and do all of these things. That may be the position of someone that we're trying to love. But to continue to give them a position by which you can by which they can come to have unconditional love with you, that's quite, it's kind of unfathomable. That Krishna's mercy or Krishna's compassion is of such great degree that even though we reject Krishna day in, day out, he's simply waiting and he's feeling the separation more than we are. It's quite an amazing thing. Is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although he is the supreme topmost, he doesn't need us at all. He doesn't need anything to do with us. He has no need for us. Just like a superstar, let's say, who's somebody that's really well known nowadays. Who's big? Elon Musk. He doesn't give a fig about us. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. He's some big personality. He doesn't need to, even if you develop some relationship with him and it broke, he doesn't need to give it significance because he's got so much money and so many people and he can have different relationships with. But for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the top, who is the, Purusha, who is the top most living entity, who is the original living entity, he's living entity, he is the original Purusha, Govindam Adi Purusham, that he is giving each and every single relationship with the individual living entity great significance. He's feeling separation. Srila Prabhupada says here that the whole process is to enliven the sleeping conditioned souls to the real life of spiritual consciousness so that they may thus become as perfect as the liberated souls in Vaikuntha Lokas. Since the Lord is Satchidananda Vigraha, he likes every part and parcel of his different potencies to take part in the blissful rasa. So Krishna desires that every single living entity actually come and take place, have a loving relationship with him. And when he is not having those relationships, he is feeling lacking. Some lacking is there, as is being explained, that he feels imperfect without those relationships. He is waiting for the living entity to turn his face, as the analogy is there in the Srimad Bhagavatam and different Vedic literatures. The two birds on the tree, one bird is simply... one bird is trying to enjoy the fruits of the tree, other birds, the super soul within the heart, is waiting for the Krishna, and within the heart is waiting for the living entity to realize that him trying to get all of these different fruits of this material world is actually not very significant. He simply should just turn his face and realize what his real object of love is. So, similarly, Krishna, although we've rejected Krishna's association and trying to become our own Purushas, he is still endeavoring for the living entity to have that relationship with him. Therefore, Krishna is creating this manifestation. He's creating a situation in which we can come to the level of Krishna consciousness. To such a great extent, he sends his own personal associates who are loving, who are perfectly in the liberated state, in the highest state of existence. He sends them down to reclaim the conditioned souls. He's sending Rupa Goswami, he's saying Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, all these Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Nayana Mani Manjari, who is the embodiment of the sight of Radha and Krishna, is coming down to this material world to save the fallen conditioned souls. For what reason? So that we can reestablish that loving relationship with Krishna in order to mitigate that suffering, you could say, in one sense, that Krishna is feeling. Yeah, and the servants of Krishna, they give that great significance. Oh, Krishna is as that pastime is there with the gopis. Krishna is feeling some headache. Nobody wants to give him dust of their feet. He said, "Oh, what do I need? What do I need to take this headache away? I need the dust of my, dust from the lotus feet of my devotees." Nobody's going to give it, but the gopis give it. Similarly, he is sending down his intimate associates to relieve that feeling of imperfection within his heart. And so Krishna is creating this whole cosmic manifestation just for you, really, just for you as individuals, every single one of us. He's creating this for us in order to do what? In order to come to this level of realization of our eternal relationship with Krishna. That is the only purpose, Srila Prabhupada says, of this creation. That is the only purpose in order for the living entity to realize his actual position. What is our state of being? But we're forgetful. We're willingly forgetful. Willingly forgetting Krishna. Because we want to enjoy, we want to be Purusha. It's very clear here, Srila Prabhupada is making the point that there is Purusha and there is Prakriti. And Krishna is the Purusha and we're all Prakriti. Right now we're trying to enjoy as Purusha. So it's a very fallen condition to not recognize one's real position. Then he suffers, and Srila Prabhupada, as he said here, that in his forgetful state, then he suffers under material existence because he's seeing it as him as the Purusha. I'm the enjoyer. And everything else around me is Prakriti. That is our consciousness. That is the God consciousness. God, God consciousness means that we are thinking we are God. So we're trying to enjoy in different ways. Enjoy whether it's women, men, family, such and such, enjoying as Purusha, but actually our position is Prakriti, is to be enjoyed, as Srila Prabhupada says here, that just like a husband, as he's mentioning here, giving the analogy, that just as a husband wakes up his wife to enjoy, similarly the Lord is trying to wake up the living entity to enjoy. But we ourselves are not willing to wake up because we want to enjoy. We want to continue enjoying in that dream. So we do not want to wake up. So Purusha, Krishna is the Purusha and we are all Prakriti. And he is making an endeavor to try to wake us up. Jeev Jago, Gaura Chandra Bole. That wake up, O conditioned soul, how long will you sleep in the lap of the witch called Maya? How long? How long will you sleep? How long will you stay in this condition? Sleeping, always sleeping. What is your position? Understand this. Now that Lord Chaitanya has come with his message, wake up, conditioned soul. Wake up to this platform of devotional service by which you can come to a level of complete perfection where there is no incompleteness. It's completeness. Even within this material world, we understand from Ishopanishad, Om Purnam Adha Purnam Idam Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnam Adaya Purnam Eva Vishishyate, that it is completeness. Actually, this material world is complete, but because of our incomplete knowledge, therefore it's seemingly always false within it. But actually, Srila Prabhupada says, actually nothing is material. Because it's coming from divine. It is Krishna's energy. Daivi Prakriti. As soon as you try to enjoy it, then it becomes material. As soon as you see it as your enjoyment, I am the enjoyer, then immediately it is material. But as soon as you see everything as Krishna's enjoyment, as soon as you see whatever we have to be Krishna's and to give pleasure to Krishna, then immediately that is spiritual. He mentions that analogy specifically. This rose is actually spiritual, but you're looking at it to be you're going to enjoy this rose. Therefore, it is material. You make the material happen. You're the one that is creating this illusion. But one can get out of it simply by recognizing one's position. We create the illusion. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead is endeavoring to have that intimate relationship, as Srila Prabhupada is specifically speaking here, take part in the beautiful rasa, in the rasa lila, that Krishna wants to enjoy. He wants to enjoy us. But we're too busy trying to enjoy ourselves. So one must start to understand these points of how the Lord is feeling a level of imperfectness, a level of lacking, as Srila Prabhupada says here. He somewhat felt insufficient, like a husband feeling lonely in the absence of his wife. This is a poetic simile. So the position of the jiva is that he should endeavor to please Krishna, to give pleasure to Krishna, and to stop trying to enjoy in this world in different varieties. And I was just talking to one boy, and he was making, the point is, not particularly a devotee, just a bhakta that's kind of like coming around and talking, and he was saying, and we were just talking, and he's like, yeah, I'm always thinking about what the next illusion I'm going to fall into. And I was like, wow, that's really deep actually, And it's like, even for us within Krishna consciousness, that is very deep, because there's different levels of illusion we fall into. We think we're out, but actually you're waking from one dream to another. We think, okay, now I can chant my round nicely. But then there's a whole level of false ego that is going on. There's a whole different layers of work to do within Krishna consciousness. But as soon as we think, now I'm perfect, finished, punarmusiko bhava, then become a mouse again. So the material world is a very difficult place to overcome. But the Krishna conscious society provides a position for us to come to that level of perfection. But even within the Krishna consciousness movement, there's different levels of illusion that you can get stuck in. And this is something that I was contemplating upon, or realizing that actually the real work begins when you come to Krishna consciousness. We talk about traversing over the ocean of material existence. Actually, that work begins when you come to Krishna consciousness. Because at this point, they're all just you're all drowning. But you want to cross, then your work begins when you get on to the boat. You're going to start moving. So actually, we think that because we come to Krishna consciousness, everything is wonderful. But actually, this is where it gets difficult. And we have to understand that in order to give pleasure to Krishna, we have to overcome all of the different difficulties and circumstances that come within the Krishna consciousness movement also. It is not all roses and blue skies and sunshine and rainbows. It's not that. That's not what it means to be Krishna conscious. If you think that's what it means to be Krishna conscious, then you're not Krishna conscious. Specifically making the point that this is a path of thorns, actually. And as Maharaj was making the point when he was here, taking up the Krishna conscious way of life means that you're entering into the path of thorns. It is quite painful because you have to let go of all of your anarthas. You have to see through difficult situations. You have to be situated in a Krishna consciousness amongst all situations. So the real work begins in Krishna consciousness when one comes to this platform of devotional service, and that is even very difficult to do. But the difficulties really begin when we come to this level of Krishna consciousness. Why? Because we are heavily asleep, we're in deep sleep. So the Lord is providing us a proper place, a proper condition, a proper situation to be able to actually come to the platform of perfection. And that is taking place in the form of the Krishna consciousness movement. That Srila Prabhupada has come and established the movement and given us the platform, an ashram, a house for the whole world to come and live, but there's only a few brahmacharis and brahmacharinis and vanaprastha devotees living here. It's all renunciates. The whole world's not coming yet, should come. But we have a position in which we can become Krishna conscious. The Lord is providing us a place to actually come to the level of perfection. He is, just like the whole process of creation is going on, He has given us the whole process of Krishna consciousness, by which we can become perfect. We can come to the platform of liberated state. But we tend to be quite foolish and go back to that, even within the Krishna consciousness movement, go back to this materialistic state of being where we're seeing separately from Krishna, where we want to try to enjoy separately from Krishna, even within Krishna consciousness. So it requires reformation, as Srila Prabhupada says, which is perhaps you could say every line of Srila Prabhupada, every word is the most important line, but relating to our lives, the advancement of a follower is dependent on his attitude. Advancement of Krishna consciousness is dependent on the attitude of the follower, being the most, it is one of the most important things in our lives, because this attitude shapes how we view devotional service, whether we're trying to enjoy in devotional service or we're trying to serve in devotional service. I was talking to Samir about this yesterday, that even within devotional service, this mood of enjoyment, and then Vamsi Prabhu was making that point, that when that enjoyment mentality comes, then the devotional service is not actually devotional service. Because again, it's the idea of me enjoying myself and I. Whether it's cooking or cleaning or taking prasadam or even chanting Hare Krishna, of course it has effect. But the idea that I'm trying to chant because I want to enjoy, why am I not getting enjoyment? Why is my mind not becoming calm? Why is my life not becoming perfect? Everything is not wonderful. We're forgetting that, hey, this is not for my pleasure. Actually, this is a very big point to realize that in our japa, this is not for my pleasure. This is not the idea of the meditation that the materialists have nowadays. What is meditation? You can meditate so you can go and have a good time in material life, so your mind is calm enough to enjoy. This is not meditation. Actually, this is a realization I had to have, because you always explain it as, oh yeah, this is meditation. And we may give that to the karmis. But for ourselves, we understand this is not that. This is a platform of which we're actually coming to yoga, to coming to connection with Krishna, loving relationship with Krishna. That means serving Krishna. So the mood of enjoyment is very much almost inherent in the living entity. But one has to make an endeavor, one has to remind oneself, one has to become conscious that I'm the enjoyer, I'm trying to be the enjoyer. And replace that with the mood of a servant. And the more we do that, the more we get closer to Krishna. The more we give pleasure to Krishna. That's what it means to be a servant, is to give pleasure. To provide, just as the wife provides for the husband as he desires. The living entity is meant to provide to Krishna as he desires. What are we meant to give? Everything. What is Krishna asking for? Everything. Everything. Not just your car or your home or your 5 years in the brahmachari ashram or whatever it may be. No, that's not what Krishna is asking for your whole life. Everything. Surrender. Sarva dharman pratijya mamekam sharanam vraja. Give everything. Because there is nothing for you to hold on to actually. It's all illusion. It's all temporary. It's a temporary material world. So give it all up. Give up your nonsense, hogwash ideas, and surrender onto the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya. There is nothing else. There's nothing else to be had in this world. Renounce it. Give it all. It's very hard to do. But if one can do it, then one can come to that blissful state of Satchit Ananda. Because one becomes associated with Krishna very closely. And so that surrender pleases Krishna. It allows us to enter into this blissful rasa. Not this material rasa, not this prakrita rasa, but this blissful rasa, spiritual, daivi, in which we start to take place in this eternal rasa lila of exchange between ourselves and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is what we actually want. And this is what we want to help do also, because we have hopefully some loving relationship with Krishna, and we recognize this. Oh, Krishna is feeling some separation from all conditioned souls, therefore we go out and we help try to establish that relationship with other conditioned souls. By what? By giving Srila Prabhupada's books. That is the primary way of doing that, by chanting the holy name of the Lord. We are able to help them become connected to Krishna. So Krishna feels great satisfaction by these conditioned souls getting Srila Prabhupada's books. Every single book. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was pleased with any disciple that distributed even a pamphlet. Why? Because here it is. It begins the journey of the conditioned soul, stuck. Samsara sukh, trying to enjoy samsara dukh, trying to suffering in this samsara. Always suffering. But here, now, by receiving the books of Srila Prabhupada, they're starting to become reconnected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Srila Prabhupada says that is a greater position, that Krishna gives one great mercy. I read one quote in, if you want to please Krishna, then go and work hard for Krishna, or suffer for Krishna. Go and preach. Preach for Krishna. Then Krishna will be very easily pleased. So Krishna is very pleased by the living entities' endeavor to re-establish one's own connection with Krishna, and then to help reestablish others' relationships with Krishna. So in Srila Prabhupada being the greatest propounder of that, doing it all over the world, we have an opportunity to engage in that activity of book distribution, especially during these marathons, where we're going out long hours. All the devotees are going long hours, long hours. Every single moment, every single second, every single hour you're out there, Krishna is pleased with your endeavor to get every single person that you see Srila Prabhupada's books. That is how we're pleasing Krishna. So, in this Krishna consciousness movement, we have a process, we have the facilities, We have everything to give Krishna pleasure, to reestablish our relationship with Krishna, help others reestablish their relationship with Krishna. So we should go on doing this. We should go on with the process of surrender and nothing else. Nothing else. There's no other process but the process of surrender. So give, as Srila Prabhupada said, give this one life to Krishna. There's not really it's just a small thing. It's just one life. What's the problem? Why? So you can, next life, if you really want to enjoy, then you can have so many different types of enjoyment. Whatever you want, Krishna will provide it. But this life, we can just simply give it. Just give it to the transcendental book distribution. Give it to the chanting of the holy name. Give it to the cleaning of the floors, to cooking for the Sankirtan devotees, to decorating the deity. Whatever it may be, give that one life. Give your whole consciousness, nothing separate. And you will see, we will see how it's absolutely perfect. It's absolutely perfect. We can completely be happy. Complete state of being. That is our real state of being. Completeness in that knowledge with Krishna. And then nothing else is incomplete. Whatever inconvenience we have in this material world, it only becomes an impetus to perform pure devotional service. So, Srila Prabhupada's movement is giving us the facility to reconnect with Krishna. So we're doing that, and we're helping establish and expound that and expand that. So going on with our activities of book distribution, never stopping preaching, and while maintaining our own proper achar, vichar and prachar, our own activities, our own behavior. So we can establish our loving relationship with Krishna, and whatever insufficient feeling that Krishna has may be taken away. We're feeling pain, that Krishna is feeling pain. So I'll end my class there. Sorry, I went 1 minute over. That's pretty good for me. And so I'll end the class there. Sorry, no questions. We got to get on books. We can have questions over prasadam discussions. Okay, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.